A story of betrayal, resilience, and redemption. Favour was a humble housemaid, working tirelessly to support her sick mother. But one day, everything changed. Her boss, Mr. Obina, accused her of seducing him, a lie she never saw coming. His wife, Ivy, didn't ask questions, she didn't listen, she simply threw Favour into the streets. With no money, no home, and no one to turn to, hope seemed lost. Then a mysterious stranger appeared, a billionaire named Emeka Obidike. What happened next would break hearts and inspire courage. This is a story of betrayal, resilience, integrity, and redemption. Can a broken girl rise from the dust and become more? Watch to the end and find out how Favour's darkest moment became the doorway to her destiny. The morning sun spilled through the gauzy curtains of the Obi residence like golden syrup, touching everything except Favour, who was already awake. She moved through the house like a whisper, present, needed, but never seen. The only sound following her was the swish of her faded wrapper and the soft clap of her sandals against the marble floor. At 20, Favour had learned to carry her silence like a badge. Her mother had once told her, "When you are in another person's house, swallow your tears. Let the wall hear them, not your tongue." So she swallowed them. Every day in the Obi house, a duplex nestled in a quiet estate, the walls were painted cream, the floors spotless, and the furniture imported. But the air was tense, thin with suspicion and unspoken truths. Favour worked there for 14 months. She rose before the sun, cleaned the children's rooms, ironed school uniforms, made cereal for little Temmie and David, washed Adeyemi's clothes. Mrs. Ivy, the madam of the house, was a woman made of steel and schedule, a respected chief medical officer at a prestigious hospital with a sharp tongue and even sharper heels. She was rarely home. Most days she left before the crow and returned after the moon yawned. She barely looked at Favour, except to hand over the grocery list or scold her for forgetting to warm the stew. Her husband, Obina, however, was always home. Obina claimed he was an active venture capitalist in online business, but Favour noticed he spent more time lounging than working. He'd sit in his upstairs study with his laptop open, glass of juice in hand, one eye always drifting to her. At first, Favour convinced herself it was harmless. Maybe he just noticed her hard work. Maybe he appreciated how well she cleaned the windows or folded the laundry. But it wasn't appreciation. It was hunger. She felt it in his lingering glances and in the way he found excuses to call her upstairs. "Favour, the air freshener is finished." "Favour, my charger isn't working." When Mrs. Ivy was gone, she had bent slightly to wipe the base of the bookshelf in the hallway. Obina's voice startled her. "You bend like a river, Favour, smooth, flowing." She froze. Her sponge dropped from her hand. "I said," he repeated, "you're too beautiful to be a maid. You know that, right?" Favour didn't answer. She picked up her sponge and walked away. Her heart pounded so loud she feared he would hear it. From that day on, she made sure never to be in the same room with him. She avoided eye contact, kept her wrapper tight and blouse high, but he kept coming closer, with his words, his looks, his threats. The most painful part, the way he would switch. When Ivy came home, he became cruel and dismissive. "Favour, don't you know how to sweep properly?" "Favour, your food is tasteless again." In front of his wife, he acted as if her very existence annoyed him. Ivy never noticed, but that scared Favour the most. Madam trusted her husband blindly. The edge of betrayal. Favour sat in her tiny room in the boys' quarters, staring at the ceiling fan whirl like her thoughts. Should I tell her? Should I risk it? What if she doesn't believe me? She thought about her mother lying in a narrow bed in Obiwa. She had cancer and diabetes. Her last salary had gone into buying her insulin. She had no savings, no backup plan. Each day that passed, Obina's pressure grew heavier. His voice dropped to whispers. His eyes followed her like shadows. And Favour's silence grew thicker. She walked on eggshells, praying she'd find the strength to speak, or a miracle would find her first. One morning, Favour was already awake, standing in the kitchen as the kettle boiled. She moved with practiced ease, buttering bread, pouring tea, but her chest felt heavier. Every corner of the house now held a memory she didn't want. Obina stood by the living room window, arms crossed, watching her. He wasn't smiling. He didn't speak, but his stare made her skin feel like it didn't belong to her anymore. "Good morning, sir." He didn't respond. Her heart beat fast. Washing dishes, which used to calm her, now felt like punishment. Even the children had started noticing. "Favour, why do you look so sad all the time?" said Temi one afternoon. "I'm just tired, my dear," Favour lied, hiding the fear building inside her like boiling water in a pot with no lid. Later that day, Obina called her upstairs to study. She hesitated. Her feet didn't want to go, but she couldn't say no. "I need you to help me clean the bottom drawer. Something spilled," he said. She crouched and opened the drawer. It was empty. He moved close behind her, eyes fixed on her blouse, breathing heavily. "Sir, please respect yourself," she said firmly. But Obina just smiled. "If you don't stop, I will tell your wife," she asked, voice shaking, but determined. "Tell her what, exactly?" "I will destroy your name, Favour. I will make her believe that you came after me. And trust me, she will believe me." Favour didn't wait to hear more. She turned and left, trembling, silent. That night, she sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall. Tears ran silently down her face. The next morning, she dressed carefully and carried breakfast into the living room. She saw Mrs. Ivy sitting on the couch. Before she could speak, Obina stepped in. "Ivy, I've been meaning to tell you something important. It's about this maid, Favour. She's been acting strange, trying to seduce me." Favour gasped. Mrs. Ivy cut her off. "I know my husband. He would never stoop so low. Take this girl out of my house. Let her carry her shame with her." Favour dropped to her knees. "Please, don't do this, madam. My mother is sick. I have nowhere to go." But it was too late. Guards dragged her to the gate like a criminal. Her bag tossed outside. The gate slammed behind her. She stood barefoot, humiliated, heartbroken. The wind rose as she wandered through the streets. Cars honked, neon signs blinked, but she had no plan. She finally found an empty, crumbling shop and sat on the floor, hugging her bag, crying freely for the first time in years. Hours later, a man in a black SUV nearly hit her. He jumped out furious, but softened as he saw her trembling figure. "You're okay?" he asked gently. "I'm not okay," she whispered. He introduced himself as Emeka Obidike, a billionaire who listened as she told her story of betrayal, poverty, and humiliation. He offered her safety, food, and rest. Slowly, Favour began to trust him. Emeka took her to his luxurious home, introduced her to his mother who cared for her, fed her, and gave her a clean room and a warm bath. Favour's tears of fear transformed into tears of release. The next day, Emeka showed her a surprise: documents enrolling her in a prestigious catering school, along with provisions for her living expenses and support for her sick mother. "Your life is not over, Favour. It's just beginning," he said. 1 year later, Favour had graduated with top honors from the catering school. Emeka, true to his word, presented her with a fully equipped catering shop, Favour's Delight, with all the necessary registrations and a healthy operating fund. Her sick mother, whose medical care Emeka had diligently overseen, was also showing significant improvement. Favour stood proudly outside her new shop, teaching girls like her who had been dismissed unfairly. Hope had flown home, and she held her silver dove pendant, a symbol of peace, freedom, and a new beginning. After a year of shared respect, courage, and a deep, blossoming love, Emeka proposed. They married in a joyful ceremony, surrounded by love and family. Favour's darkest moment had indeed become the doorway to her destiny, transforming the broken housemaid into a resilient, successful woman, and finally, a beloved wife. She had a happy ending.